to the square below that and see what I can do.
Radio. 10 or 12 on the square. Touching holes. Hole in hole in hole. Good shooting.
Okay, well that's pretty much standard. I'll move that across a little bit, but
Okay.
that's all shooting about like you want it to.
Yeah.
It's nice and consistent.
Yeah.
So I'll move it those two.
Radio.
Okay, I just wanted to point out or show essentially, this is the 308 that I had in the last video. I've actually gone through and done what I consider is probably the final modifications to it. You know, so I've replaced the bottom slide with one that was angled to one that's nice and straight. So that's set up nice to slide on the bag properly. I've also sorted out the front of my stock and fitted an Atlas bipod to it, which actually has a drilled pin into the stock, and then actually set up the Atlas bipod with an adjustment tension nut under here, so that I can actually adjust and lock my cant up for how I want to shoot it. And with the longer legs, this has got another extra extension on the end of the Atlas thing. We have another one of those to go on there if we wanted to. We actually have the ability to really use this thing as I like to use it. So essentially I've also modified the cheek piece a little bit. I've raised the scope up. I've got one of the Night Force uni mounts with the 20 MOA on a 30 MOA base, which gives me 50 MOA, which suits the 100 MOA of adjustment that we've got in the Night Force scope, to where we can get that was actually straight on zero set up like that, so there's no shimming or anything involved. We're set up where we're running zero on the scope, so that worked really nicely. Something in talking about that, I'm quite nice and happy how this is set up. It's shot very well. I'll look at the video footage and see if there's any jump or anything in it, but I think it was pretty good. One thing I'd like to point out, I see people talking about these bipods, and I like the features to them, but there's some details that shooters should understand in using this sort of bipod. Using them like this in the normal, extension form, they're great. They work nicely. They're nice and easy. You just press the button here to swing them in and out, so they're nice and easy to use. Another feature that they have is essentially you can flip them forward or back to shoot like this. So I'll lower it down to where you'd be shooting something like that, shooting down in this sort of angle, which looks nice because you get another adjustment. You can get even lower to the ground. What a lot of people, and I should say I haven't heard mentioned, is that when you're shooting like this, although yes, it's quite doable and it does work quite well, there is a feature you must understand. If you preload your bipod, you'll notice the moment I preload it, the muzzle rises. So you also get to the point where you preload, as you see right there, where it's not preloading one leg and it is the other, it actually moves sideways. The main feature, I'd say, I'll move it up to where it should be able to grip in both places. You see there that the muzzle's actually rising because of the nature of how that bipod is actually now positioned on an angle. Where these legs move, as they move, they're going to raise up the bipod. And it's the same for when you're shooting it backwards. It goes the opposite direction. When you move forward, it goes down. When you move back, it lifts up. In this situation, if you're preloaded and you shoot, your muzzle's going to shoot down, so your angle of your rifle is going to change. So that means this is still a usable position. I don't like to use them like this, but it is a usable position. But your preload or the way you cycle your gun has to be identical every time. Because what will happen in this sort of setup is you'll tend to find most shooters will end up with vertical stringing. And that's simply because they're getting slight different amounts of movement over that first instant of the shot are going to basically make that the bullet come out or the impact point at a slightly different height. If it moves less, in this situation, if you get less movement out of your barrel for that first split second of when the bullet's actually still in the barrel, you're going to have a higher impact point. If it moves back further, you're going to have a lower impact point. So with very consistent ability to hold that very, very consistently, guns with less recoil, it's going to be less of a problem, but it is something to always consider. I I do it the other way. I like the bipod, I like how it works. I don't use it in the 45-degree position. So I make sure I've got a lot of adjustment, and as I've said previously, I like to have my rifle off the ground a long way. So that means I use my bag to do it, but trying to get down low using that 45 degrees, it works for sure, but there's a trap that I simply haven't heard mentioned. Maybe everybody knows about that, but it's something that I thought I'd say out loud so that the people who haven't figured it out, maybe it'll help them. Anyway, that's my 308. I think that's in a pretty nice form. I'm pretty happy with it. It's set up to where it's very easy to use. I've got rid of the scruffiness on the front of it, neatened it up a little bit there. The scope is up high now. I've adjusted my cheek rest to suit. I also should say on this, you notice it's black. I found that really in analysing it, they're a little square on the top, the ones that come with this stock for me. So I've actually shaped off this side to bring it in to get my face in a bit further across and let my head a little straighter up and down. And I do like, I've done it for a few things now. This one I did in aluminium to suit the stainless steel, but that bar on the slide bar on the bottom there gives me a really nice straight action when I'm using my bipod in the right form. Anyway, that's just a little chat about that one. Yeah, thought you'd like to see what I actually did with it.